Kamli sir, and I request him to kindly come on the dais and raise the chair. And I call upon Chetan to kindly welcome sir with the bouquet. Sir has completed his BU MSc from Sri Venkateshwara University, Tirupati, and Dr. NTR University of Health Sciences, Andhra Pradesh, Vijayawada. Presently working as professor and HOD, Amraze Jindwa, the Zenith and in charge department of COLLAGEAND, having 30 years of clinical, 23 years of teaching, and 20 years of research experience. And he has guided 45 dissertations and 5 PhD research work, and he has published in original research papers about 125 peer-reviewed and index journals. And he has organized ROTP, CMEs, workshops, national seminars, national and international webinars. He is expert on dossier of Humani medicine, NAC guidelines for Humani colleges, and invited speaker in pharmacovigilance of ASU and H drugs, lifestyle disorders, metabolic disorders, and musculoskeletal disorders. So over to you, sir.
Hello, good afternoon to all of you, my dear friends. Or rather, I can say friends only. And for something NCSM made me to appear before you as a master trainer. Basically, I'm a master only. Trainer, just because of the training provided to me for 6 days by the NCSM, they have selected as a master trainer. Otherwise, by virtue of qualification and the knowledge what we have, all of us are same only. All of you agree? How many of not listening to my words, the rare people? I believe that all of you have received one pre-session questionnaire is there, a Google form. Go through your group, please. Check your group that masters. I'm sure that none of you have the Android phone. You have a group? Group will work. So all of you people there in the group, no, sir? One particular Google form have been sent to your group. Please. Otherwise. How to send this? You ask pattern to send it to this particular. So already this form forwarded. Last day now. Of the account settlement, attendance, feedback. Oh, means somewhere the organizers are interrupting my work. Is it? Sir, first.
Because of this technical issue, NCSM portal where we are not able to submit the screen.
Right.
Now we are able to.
आधा इंटरवल हो गया
जी सर
टिकट मिला है
ओह वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग सर क्या किया था सफर किया था या दूसरा सुनने स्टोरी सुनने हाँ सर so my request all of you please find one Google form is there in your group yes sir that's what we have said please If it is not there, let me ensure once again.
Please check its screen share.
Now, I believe all of you have received this one. अगर किसी के पास नहीं आया हो तो please kindly let me know. दयविಟ್ಟು ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ವೀಕ್ ವೆರಿ ಎಂಜಾಯ್ I reach here sir. This is a very customized, very simplified questionnaire. I hope you finish this one. This is on priority. ये बाद में कर लेंगे नेक्स्ट वीक भी कर सकते हो How many of you have get the problem? Some of the people are complaining that it is unable to work.
Raise your hands, those who have not received the link.
Ask them to resend it once again.
How many of you have not received?
Instead of sending the link, say that the complete Google form. Please ask them to do once again. I know all of you are very gentlemen, and if the technical problem is all there, even though you can come out of the technical issue, but only need you to the attention, willingness to do this one. अगर अच्छे दोस्त हैं आप सब उसको सारा क्या कीजिए क्लिक करके कॉल मैडम प्लीज कॉल मैम
She's sending again.
हो गया कहीं तो होगा नहीं होगा somebody please attend the conferences because I need the free and post one. Please communicate madam to resend it again. RS madam, whatever the link you got it now, you please repeat it, resend it, send it in the same group. I believe some of you have finished this one.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I expect them, please, whosoever has completed the task, raise your hands, please. Thank you. Thank you. Good friends are there to me. This is only 2 minutes job, sir. What about you, sir? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anybody from this one? Okay, sir. Madam, you are so. If you have any technicality, thank you, sir. And what about you, ma'am? Please, sir. So what? Please. Yeah. Yes. I would like to know what exactly just that whatever you are doing is right, that's right. फीडबैक सप्लाई हो गया सर इसमें सब लोग फीडबैक पाते अच्छा सो ओके सर So without delaying further, shall we proceed with the presentation? Yes, because your answers are free. I believe in your honesty with your job. Still, anybody is having a technical issue, we are going to provide a hard copy. इसलिए नहीं किया इसी के पास सर लिंक होता है सर लिंक ओपन है कंप्लीटेड सर नहीं हो रहा Sir, how many of you are planning to stay to up to tonight evening 8 o'clock? Nobody is paying attention to my voice. Sir, it means the participants are still energetic. Oh, very nice, sir. I'm asking the same question. How many of you are interested to be here up to 8 o'clock? You want to? Okay, it means most of you are planning to come early now. Then I need your cooperation to finish the job. keep all this documentary work aside. You are getting special time for completing the feedback. If you are able to attend my lecture, then I'll ask the organizer to finish this within half an hour. Sir, it's very inconvenient for me because people are not paying attention to the lecture. The purpose for their visit, feedback, TA form, ये तो priority है sir. Right, sir? As I believe most of you have a good number of publication. Anybody, as I did till date, not published any paper, any scientific research paper? I hope that all of you have got a good number of publication. That is with reference to scientific paper. I am not asking about the textbooks or any other issue of authors or something. We have some publication now. Published papers are there. Can I expect what is the minimum number of the paper published? एक लोग 10-20 होंगे। वो तो हिंदी समझते हैं। कन्नड़ा नहीं आता। हिंदी आता। तो मुझे लगता है कि सबके पास you have number of publication at least. And know the what in which language you have published the paper? English. Are you sure? Not other than English. How do you feel while writing the paper in an English language? Is it comfortable or something? Is it comfortable? So most of your papers are well organized, clear, accurate language. There is no grammatical errors, no ambiguity in the lecture, the content. ऐसा कुछ हुआ है क्या? How many of you use any technical support like proofreading of your document with your friends, your peer group, your seniors? While you are writing the paper, sometimes we need to take the opinion of our colleagues. हमने किया किसी ने? करते हैं? करना चाहिए नहीं करना चाहिए? अच्छा, proofreading के लिए कभी किसी को commercial में हायर किया था? Have you paid any amount to a proofreading, grammar check, syntaxical error, mechanism? नहीं किया. So you people did your own. Excellent. So I'm very happy because most of you people did my job very easy. In fact, the topic what we are going to talk about in scientific paper, there are certain language-related barriers are there. We know that in what sense, what language is supposed to be used in scientific paper, but sometimes we are not sure about what we have written, how the end user is going to interpret the content. मेरा कहना है कि अगर आप किसी पेपर को पढ़ रहे हो, at one particular point, sometimes there is no clarity about the content, what the author is intended to say. It is with reference to the introduction, material methods, results. ऐसा कभी हुआ है आप लोगों के साथ? मुझे लगता है कि पेपर ही नहीं लिखते हैं, कहाँ से लिखेंगे? नहीं हुआ ऐसे?
फिलहाल तो नहीं हुआ है सर, आगे हो सकता है।
आगे हो सकता है। चलिए आपका प्रॉब्लम का सोल्यूशन देने जा रहा हूँ। How many of you heard about it, used about the grammar check softwares? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Grammar check, spell check, plagiarism checking softwares. Do you have any idea about that? Is there any application software which help you in the scientific writing?
Plagiarism we have checked, sir.
That is mandatory.
Yes.
Without plagiarism checking, because most of the journals they won't accept your paper. That is there. But what about the syntax, semantics, grammar, punctuations, particularly phrases, tenses? Whether we have paid attention about this? One final question: have you received your paper rejected by the reviewers from the editorial board? अरे शर्माने की जरूरत नहीं है, बोले आप खुल के. Very rarely, but you got some of your paper rejected. Can you recall what was the reason for the rejection? Sir has said some terminologies are not clear, stating that is the reason for rejection. Sir, somebody is talking about language. Maybe your language is not according to the global understanding. Or poor language, something the vocabularies of irrational use. Beyond this, Anything I would like to learn from you? आपका कोई पेपर पब्लिकेशन कर दिया गया जिसमें रीजन बता दिया you are ready learning, that makes you very sentimental. I did a lot of efforts to find out this paper, but the editorial board, the reviewer, they have sent back the paper rejecting the reason. ऐसा कुछ आप लोग बता रहे थे ना कि पेपर reject. What was the reason? Sorry, they said that we have a long queue of publication, so there is a criteria we are not able to consider your paper for publication. Are you believe this is the right reason? Something hidden. They are not disclosing the exact reason. Maybe. But we have to find out some other reasons also. Then what we did, sir, ultimately we have sent the paper to some other journal, where your paper and the content is appropriately fixing. Right? So today, here in the next 10-20 minutes, we are going to discuss about it. There are overcoming language barriers are there. How to come and what are those? Next. I don't know whether you are listening to me or not. I thought to cover some of the things. What is scientific writing? And what is the language used in scientific writing? The most common language. And what is meant by the communication? Is it communication? What communication is more effective? The way I am speaking or listening, or shall I act it? Out of the acting, non-verbal cue and the verbal, out of these two, which one is most effective? We'll try to learn. And most common language used for communication, like some of our friends are talking about, because we have a provision to write articles in colloquial languages like Indian languages. We have nearly some 18 or officially approved languages are there. Out of Hindi, Sanskrit, Arabic, Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, any language wherever you are staying, there is a provision to write such papers in the colloquial languages. But the question is, globally accepted language is English. And no, unfortunately, we are the non-native English speakers. English is not our mother tongue. Though we have been educated since primary class to up to higher than that, but very few people have the chance to study the English medium. But most of us are not from the English medium. Even some of the people who have been taught in the English medium also, their languages, they have been found there is some difficulty in their language. Some barriers are there. So keeping all these things and the importance of some of the grammar check software, NCISM has permitted to speak something about, because this is one of the crucial part. I believe all of you are the PG teachers. Yes. Some of you will come and see how the response I'm getting from my people. Oh, I'm not audible. Okay. Then it's clear, sir? Okay. I thought to make it more convenient, interactive, but I don't find life among all of your participants. Maybe past 2 days you have been exaggeratedly listening to the subject, and more of today is the last day, and unfortunately the feedback form is becoming a hurdle between you and me. Is it true now? Yes, sir. Okay. Anyhow, see, in fact, at the end of this program, this particular lecture, I have the option of asking you to check some Grammarly softwares are there with the multiple facilities like grammar, spell check, rephrasing, plagiarism check also. These are all the things. I know most of you might be knowing about some particular grammar check software. I have a list of the grammar check software. Before I reveal the names of the software, I would like to know how many of you are going to purchase such a software, or how many of you wanted to utilize such a free software? How many are going with the free? Everybody wants that free software. That keeping that interest of mine also, I'm just bringing with the free software that can use up to 2,000 words of a software document. If you wanted to go for more than 2,000 words, definitely you have to pay $125 per paper for 5 revisions. You know what is the cost it incurs you? 125 United States dollars means 84 rupees multiply it. So that almost it around 10,000 rupees. So that also, the editorial board will review you for 5 times only, whatever the reason. Beyond 5th revision, they won't accept. Again, you need to pay 10,000 rupees. That is what the proof of the document to be checked by the grammar check software. Grammar in the sense, not only the grammar, if you want, you can rephrase it. If you want, you can go for plagiarism check also. There are so many features out there. So I'm trying to provide you the free software where you can go up to 2,000 word check facilities also there, right? My friends, you know, In the commonly in our scientific papers, keeping all the content aside, please, please. We are talking about the scientific writings. Basically, the scientific writing, what scientific writing is means, the scientific writing, these are the technical forms of the writing. Whatever the thing we are going to write, this is a technical form. Now, which contains some information, we are communicating to the scholars. Ayurvedic people are going to speak about their work to the Ayurvedic scholars, are the allied people to understand their science. Similarly, Unani, Siddha people are also trying to communicate their findings, their concepts to the community so that the other people know about the importance of their science. But for that, we need to have a design structure. While you're writing, you have to write very effectively and it should be very logically, it should be written. Because of the time concern, I think I am very limiting my talk. Ultimately, the author is trying to convince you the scientific writing, 3-4 points are there. Here, the author will use objective language in the paper, where he also focuses about the consistent sentence structure. They cannot use irregular structure, something like a cut or hard words which carry some ambiguous meaning. If they use, the content is not going to be understand easily. So in scientific writing, the characteristics of scientific writing must have is that the language should be objective, mean it should be a fair and accurate, no ambiguity, followed by consistent sentence structure and more that could be easy for the academics to understand. Suppose during my conversation, if I start speaking about mizaj, akhlaq, roop, have you got any point about this? No. I'm sure. So these people understood what is this mizaj, akhlaq, and kalam. But at the same time, if I ask you, if I said this, Panchabhutas, Tridosha, yes, and this something, you got the point. Because I'm going to speak something about your Ayurvedic terms. Generally, when you are writing this, these are the technical terms. If you are repeatedly writing such a technical terms in any scientific paper, and such a paper who is going to read by non-technical person, it will reflect like a jargons. Jargons are the specifically technical terms of one particular discipline that is only applicable to the people of that particular discipline only. If any other person who started reading, understanding that thing, it looks very awkward to them. It faces very difficulty for them. So in scientific writing, while you are writing, one is supposed to be control the jargons also. And I would like to ask you, while you are writing the paper, which kind of active voice and the passive voice, what kind of sentences will you use? Yeah. Which kind of sentences generally the authors will write? Active voice and the passive voice? Active. Active voice only. Active or the passive? Passive. Some of you, please. Passive. Past tense. Tenses are different from the voice. Scientific research papers will ask you to mention the data and the active voice only, because active voice will give a clarity about understanding. Passive voice is giving something like a sort of a distraction in understanding the word. Most of the journals will reject your paper based upon the language when you are not punctual about using the active voices. If it is a passive voice sentences, I'll show you the grammar, one of the grammar check software. It is clearly mentioning that because of the passive voice, your content is unintentionally enhanced with the reference to number. So my dear friend, in scientific writing, content should be reproduced in the active voice. Don't use jargons. Don't use very big lengthy questions like sentences like. I have some of the examples also. So the language is a primary tool. Like I'm trying to communicate you between you and me. The communication is going through a particular language. The language what I'm using is English. But I have to be very careful about that. Whatever I'm speaking, whatever the thing I'm deliberating, is it at the end user it is fruitful or not? Whether all of you are getting or not. If I find any difficulty in communication through this language, it is my responsibility to have to change the language so that the end user must understand the content. Right? Here the scientific language also, scientific writing also, the language what you are using should be adhered to the guidelines issued with respect to journal, following some grammatical things also. And then now it is how it is going to helpful. As I said, it establishes communication of idea and here expression of thought. While you are writing, your communication will give expression of thoughts and opinion. And as I said, it creates a social interaction. As an author, they are writing in a paper, while the reader, when they started reading, they believe that something is constructed before you. आपने कभी कहानियां भी पढ़ी होगी, नावल वाल पढ़े होंगे ना कभी, तो कहानी तो पढ़ी होगी इसी पेपर में, जब पढ़ते हो तो ऐसे लगता है कि हमारे आंखों के सामने कोई चीज बांधी जा रही है ना? Similar kind of a thing you have to create while you are writing, as if the things are going before the reader. That's what the using social interaction you have to establish your interaction. But in a verbal language communication, we have to use certain sounds only. This communication is a verbal. I am using certain sounds, phonetics, language for communication by verbal. This is okay. If you are going to make it in writing form, there are certain issues to be taken care of. Effective communication is essential part. Probably this is a question we have asked in the program. It helps in the collaboration. If you write good, most of the global community will come and ask you, sir, we read your paper and your article is speaking about renal failure and some intervention what you have used. They started coming forward to make a collaboration with you. You would like to learn something about your science, your interventions. Second point I mentioned, it's building a relationship. Once a collaboration started, people will come forward to have a relationship, to build relationships also. Third point we said that conveying complex concepts. Are you sure, sir? These doshas are there, no? Dosha. We call it as humors. Akhlaq we call it in Yunani. There are three only. But the Yunani people say it's a four doshas are there. This Khoon, Balgam, Sapra, Sada. Ayurveda called as Vata, Pitta, Kapha. But in one of the Ayurvedic texts I read about that, probably Shushrata has told about that, there is another dosha. Rakta. Yunani speaks about Rakta, Vata, Pitta, Kapha is there. Then the question is, how you are going to explain about the existence of all these things? Yunani science says that all these doshas are a mixture which is running in the form of a blood. It's a blood which contains all the three doshas are there, but in collectively we call it as four doshas. And the theoretical differences make us three doshas Ayurveda, four doshas are Yunani, two doshas are the Chinese people. What I believe. The question is how we are going to explain, convince this. Do you have any parameter through which we can say this is the quantity of the blood and this is the phlegm, this is the yellow bile, this is the black bile which is in the body? No. Objectively we don't have any device. Hypothetically we are conceptualizing so many things. But one thing, based on the symptoms of the disease, with predominance of the particular dosha, we say that this is Vata dosha, Pitta dosha, Kapha dosha. Like that we have categorized the disease, and strongly we believe that the treatment we just follow contradiction to the doshas. Right? Vata dosha disease should be treated with the same kind of drugs. I mean to say, this is a right way of communicating the concept. They are very complex concepts. I strongly believe this. Ayush system of science concepts are very complex still. Most of the people there are unable to understand. If they understand, they are unable to express their opinions, thoughts. So I mean to say, I'm trying to bring your attention toward all these points. In communication, you are getting a good chance to explain, communicate, and the communication, the tool what we have to need is some language. Whatever the language you are influenced, whatever the language you are perfect. But for global community, English is the only language right now that people mostly accept it. Please. The best interesting thing is scientific knowledge is available in English only. You know, what is the population of the world as of today? थोड़ा सा मैं पीछे सुनना चाह रहा हूँ. Global population कितना होगा भैया? 140? That's 144 crores Indian population. I'm asking about the global population. 7.8 billions. Out of 7.8 billions, 1.6 billion only this is the English people. 1.35 billion is only the English people. And out of 1.35 billion, 360 million are the first language is English. You can think about 16% of the global population is dominating on 84% of the other language people. Are you getting my point? Yes. I am giving you the paths to promote your scientific work in your own language. Now Indian government is also giving provisions to write multilingual drafts should become order. And now today most of the grammar check software, the softwares, they are available in 150 languages. But technically they are not going to solve the issues. Technically we have to look into that. I mean to say why we can't be dominant on the 16% of the population. I hope you are getting my point. So because universally accepted, English is the best way of communicating the global community, though there are 1.35 billion people, only 60% of the global population, still they are dominating and the entire literature is available in English only. It is better to communicate that particular paper in English language that will be easily accessible to the global community. Right. Next please. As I said, language barriers are those features of the language which causes something like a miscomprehension and loss of understanding also. If I write that doshas are multiple, anything more than one is multiple only. Anything more than two is a multiple only. When we have certain number, it is better to give three doshas are only. Multiple givings more than one. Both the terms are right, but you are writing multiple mean it is leads to miscomprehension. So let it be clear while you are writing. So don't give actually the miscomprehension, because miscomprehensions are going to lead to loss of your communication also. What this gentleman is talking about, this doshas are three only, he says the multiple. Are you getting the point what I mean to say? So you should be very clear while selecting the words in this one. Language, there are so many multiple words are there that give equal meaning, but by the same time they got the comprehensions issue. And most of the publications in the global other conferences, seminar, publications are always happening in English. But the problem, the biggest language barrier is for the people who don't know the English. Like most of us, we are very poor in English. अब तक हमने अंग्रेजी में बात ही नहीं की। मेरे ख्याल से सब सो रहे हैं ना? सो रहे हैं यार. Next slide, please. Okay, then what are the language barriers? Generally, what we feel in any paper, you look at this. Language is semantic barrier. Semantic barrier means use of words appropriately, which may words have more than one meaning. आप अंग्रेजी में देखोगे तो एक ऐसे कुछ वर्ड्स हैं जिसके कई मीनिंग्स आते हैं, कॉन्टेक्स्ट में चेंज होता है. The king is the highest authority of particular kingdom, and same the article or the product is king. In the sense king we are using in different contexts. The king stands for the size, king stands for the highest authority. Likewise, if you look at the literature, there are so many words which have homophones. This is word, if you speak it like a same word but having spelling, if you look at the spelling, there are different ones are there, but different meanings are also there. While you are using, be careful because they are going to create language. Use of words and the phrases. Sometimes while you are writing, we use some of the words which are clutters. Mean to fill gap of the content, we use most of the words. That at the time of this writing, we feel this is very appropriate, but they are of no use at all. I'll tell you what are those. Some of the words, some phrases are there. Some idioms are also we use. That also causes not good reading. Using of abusive words, they are not normal to the context. Long words are also there. Jargons are already said. But the biggest problem in scientific writing is the grammar and the spelling check. How many of you, what is the spelling of the career? K-A-R-R-E-R. Career. Career. I hope you got some understanding about this word. If you attempt a small mistake, the entire content will change. The meaning of the paragraph will also change. Career or the career. Okay? Like grammar, and one need to go for checking this spelling. Next, please. Like jargons, we generally, because all of us are doctors, is it? You are doctors only now? Thank God. Where is Hakims? They are little bit reluctant. They are not prefer to use way than the Hakims. We are very passionate to use doctors with our names. No. Why? Yes. Maybe there was a passion. People ask this generation why that, but no. We want to put the doctor. Want to confuse the community, making ourselves like the doctors. Still, there is some sort of opinions are also there. I mean to say the jargon. I am not talking about the jargon. In our writing, generally, actually things are going like this. Actually, it is a filler, it is a clutter. Atypical. I saw one patient who came to my hospital with some clinical symptom. They are very atypical. What do you mean by atypical? We don't find such symptoms in other patient. Like comorbidity, generally abuse. in the research protocols, we often come across the term comorbidity, like atherogenic. There is no established causes also there. Idiopathic, which is not caused by this. So these are all words, if you are using in your paper, suppose frequently using these sentences, these words, does it look good? Somewhere it creates a jargon. Why this particular paper is repeatedly talking about heterogenic, are actually initially, partially, supposed to be. These are all the words repeated using is not recommended jargon. Use of idioms, like sometime, I have mentioned an example also. For example, Prasad sir, our respectable chairman of this Ayurveda board, he invented a device for Vamana, it seems to be. It has got patent also. How many of you know about this? This is the first product which I supposed to be find that he got patented. Taking as example, Prasad sir discovery, patented item has a significant implication in Panchakarma therapies. Okay, this is what is writing in something. If I use, instead of using this particular text, if I can say that Prasad sir's finding is a groundbreaking. Which one is looking good? Groundbreaking, generally the newspaper will use this term. General election में देखे हुए groundbreaking results. India block has blocked the NDA, something like that. For them it is used. It may have some meaning. In scientific writing, this kind of words, idioms are not recommended. I'm just giving one example. Be careful of maybe after going back to your working place, while you're going through some of the published papers, often we find this kind of idioms and phrases are there. They are not appropriate in this one. Sometimes what happens, the figurative language will also use, like I have mentioned, the news hit me like a ton of bricks. Present scenario is very suitable. The election results 2024 Lok Sabha, it be something like a bricks. I'm just giving example, don't take it very seriously. Generally, in a work order, when you are writing about the active voices, the work order should be like a subject, action, and outcome. Object should be there. This is what active voices say. Like word choice and nouns, which when you're talking about that, while you're writing a paper, I don't know about the Ayurvedic terminologies. In Unani, we use mizaj for prakriti. And if it's a Latin term which is recommended for mizaj prakriti is the temperament. Some other they also use constitution to that one. But it is very difficult. Of course, as the author, I have mentioned this is a constitution also. But some people accepted this prakriti as a synonymous for constitution also. But while you are selecting the topic, while you are selecting the word, keeping the context of the paper, use appropriate word. If I write constitution, constitution is in particular context, constitution is not at all the right word. While you are selecting the word, be careful which one is very appropriate. I believe in Ayurveda also you have some Latin terminology, so-called defined Latin terminologies for your technical terms. Like word choice and the sentence complexity, generally these are the words which causes very complex. Instead of using because, they use very lengthy sentences are there. I have some other words, since, until, as soon as, etc. These are all sentence complexity increasing sentences are there. Next, go to please. Next. In the coming slides, we have some of the understandings also. The biggest question is how to overcome the language barrier. After all, we are talking about how to overcome the language barrier. Four points are there, please remember. Writing strategies. While you are writing the paper, you adopt certain strategies that definitely will clear the barrier. Second tool is some tools are there, or some techniques, resources are there which will help you to refine your paper more appropriate. Use of scientific and terminology databases. In fact, as I said, for Prakriti, Mizaj in Unani, they have given some synonyms also. It is my responsibility while writing the paper, scientific paper, or delivering a lecture, I had to select the terminology which is equally paid attention by the authorities. Recently, WHO issued one standard terminology document. I hope that Ayurvedic people also got some standard terminologies. Do you have any terminology database? What is the source of them? Who is maintaining the terminology database of Ayurveda? For Siddha and Unani, WHO 2022, they issued standard terminologies. Now it is a legal document for all of us. Before taking any term into use, it is preferable, it is better to use such a terms. Now I'm asking about you people also while you're writing your paper, if you have any approved, a genuine database where your terminologies are available, better you use this file by writing. Clutters are words which is just used to fill the gaps in the paper. There are so many clutters are there, we'll speak about it. And as a whole, most of the articles with the passive voices are rejected because it creates a complexity. Better you use active voices, that will help you. Next, please. Here in the writing strategies, clear and concise language. The language should be clear and concise. Don't go for a lengthy description. Avoid jargons also. Define terminologies. Whatever the term you are using, these stay with your own terminology. If you are assessing on the temperament, the misa prakriti of an individual, write only the prakriti and different prakritis. Vata prakriti, the prakriti or kapha prakriti. Don't intermingle with some other thing. Like for other system of people, if you have Siddha people, please use your own terminologies. Unani, I don't find any person from Unani except me. So please stay with your own terminologies. As I said, use active voice is preferable. Generally, they ask you to use active voices only. Here mentioned an example also. Ensure proper grammar. Grammar, sometimes though we know, but unintentionally, in context of the matter, sometimes we forcibly use some articles and prepositions that give different meanings also. Next, please. With reference to the tools, because I don't know, before starting my lecture, I asked you, have you ever taken any proofreading of your paper, commercially paid versions? Have you taken any professional support or any application through which you have paid any amount for finalizing your papers? Most of the people, they said no. There are tools available for English reading and English readers and the proofreading. They will format your language also. And this is what source says. And some tools are there. Generally, most of the people don't relay the tools. We generally ask about our peer group, our seniors, immediate mentors to help us for finalizing the paper. Otherwise, there are established some softwares are there, grammar software, which help us to find out, check grammar and grammar से related बहुत सारे चीजें software से मिलती हैं. Finally, as I said, use of scientific terminology database is mandatory for your language. Some dead words are there. For example, if you look at the in the content in the material while you are writing, instead of writing because, people are very passionate to lengthen the paper because the journal asks us to write 5,000 words. ऐसा होता है ना? The maximum word limit is 5,000 and don't have the content 3,000 पे हम रुक गए. 5,000 words कैसे किया जाए? या 6,000 है तो उसको कैसे कम किया जाए? So that time you please do clear. Due to the fact, the word which is if you use because a single sentence is going to compensate a long term that due to the fact that ये दोनों अल्फाज एक ही हैं, both the words are giving same meaning. Which one you prefer to take? A single sentence because or due to the fact that? These are all the dead sets. Like in order to, instead of, like utilize, you use our resources, utilize at this point in time, like at this point of a time, all of us are very fed up. You please leave us. This is what inner emotion. Instead of that, you can say, sir, currently we are fed up with the teaching for the last 3 days. Currently, now we are bored. Instead of telling them at this point of a time. So both the words are standing the same meaning, but the thing which is lengthening is a dead word. Don't use such a thing in your language. Okay? Look at some of the empty words. Most of the writings, Ayush related paper, I have an experience of writing the paper. Basically, our science is far strengthened, far potential than the conventional science. Have you heard about this? Are you going to agree? I found so many Ayush papers, as I'm one of the reviewer for several journals also, equal perception of these Ayush people are there. Our science, like, basically, we are the founders of the medical science. Literally, I can say Charaka is the man who did surgery, Shushruta. No, literally, basically, these are all the words. They are empty in fact. Actually, the science, medical science is oldest is ours, Ayurveda. You believe it really? I am truth speaking. Like, in my opinion, most of the papers you find that the author they speak about, in my opinion, the intervention what X use is not effective in comparison to my intervention. So in a paper, no paper will permit you to use the author's opinion. So they are misguided, they are miscomprehensions. Like, in my opinion, the best solution is, I think at the end of the day, ultimately, so these are all empty words that has to be replaced, not to be used in scientific writing. And unfortunately, we don't have this long words are there. The top of have 45 words are there. Can you read out, please? Help me. Ah, 45. Next one is. Very good. Unfortunately, in our sciences, we don't have such a big words are there. Because they are the new entries. A complex, a cluster of disease conditions are there. So the convention before we started using a term which is of nearly 48 words, 30 words, 29 words are there. Can you please help me? Do you have such a long words? It looks good while you are reading the paper. If you write this, the reviewer will say that what nonsense is going to talk about this. Does really it exist? Like here we have some activities also. Like please go to the next please. Clutters are only the words which are filling the gap. It has got no meaning at all. Most of the articles they kind of this successful solution, adjectives, reports, what's already is the norm, some grammatical words are there. Every adverb that carries the same meaning that already in the word. Like already I told that all those adverbs like very, really, in my opinion, basically, generally, extra, etc., all those things. Long word that should be short. In the previous slide we saw that long words are there. Instead of that you can write this is a one lung infection carried out by silicosis. As a result there will be some exaggerated changes in the lung. Like word that could be short, like a number of a patient attending my OPD. Why we should write a number of a patient? Like many patients I used to see that they like are of my opinion. I agree less frequently caring. So these are all the words which makes you to shorten the sentences. Next please. 15 minutes left. Okay, 10 minutes left. Next. See here this page is going to talk about active voice is to be promoted because next please. Next slide. Why to prefer this active voices? Because it emphasizes author readability. If you write the content in active voice, author, the reader is easily read the paper. Author responsibility, it improves readability and it reduces the ambiguity. Active voices are help you the clarity about it, what the author is going to say. There will be no some overlapping information. Next. Most of the journal editor they recognize that active voice written contents are very easy. The first hand information that can be transmittable to be used instead of carrying the paper with the passive voice kind of. Next please. Go to the next. Coming to the final part of my presentation, some introduction to the grammar check softwares are there. How many of you know the grammar check softwares? Do you have any, any names of the chart? What? Or are you using some grammar check softwares? Grammarly, very nice, thank you. Apart from this, plagiarism is okay. Plagiarism is another feature of the software. Apart, I just would like to know for my understanding. Plagiarism is okay, but that's limitation. Right? Like you have the most of the people. What I found is, if you ask about that, most of the people say this Grammarly is the very easy, understandable, easy, executable, very friendly, customized one. And next is supposed to be the Quillboard. Right? Go to the next. Why we are supposed to use this? Because grammar check softwares are artificial intelligence based one. They have certain features. They contain dictionary, spell checking facility, and they correct the syntax. And different characteristics are there. And now they are available in the form of online and offline also. But offline softwares have very limited features. Online applications are only condition is we need to be connected through internet only for online softwares. Next, please. How these grammar check softwares are helping to us? It will help us to increase proper grammar. Most of us, I think, I would have forgotten the grammar. When we are writing English papers now, maybe we face, I'm not sure. Most of you are very intelligent people because you are not attending my lecture. Intelligent people won't learn to my words. So it helps you to check the grammar equal credibility. it save editing time. If you use this software, it will recommend you what's supposed to use the words, how to change the voices also. Next, it ensures highest quality of writing because everybody deserves to have the highest quality of a paper. To improve search engine optimization, like to improve readability of the audience. Finally, to improve writing skill, to learn where we make mistakes, and ultimately to avoid and to prevent plagiarism is also one of the purposes of. Will you agree to promote plagiarism in our papers? No. What is wrong if you use anybody's idea? Then the paper will be unchecked plagiarism. First of all, no journal will accept your paper for publication because plagiarism is somebody's right, unless you are not giving the proper references citing to the content what you have been taken. So all these areas where this grammar check software will be helpful. Next, please. So how to overcome language barrier? Here I have a big contents are there. Correcting grammar and syntax error. कैसे करेगा grammar check में? Subject and verb agreement tenses. See, if you use grammar check software throughout the paper, it maintains the same tense what is required. Whether your work is carried out in the past tense, the content will reproduce the reference the past tense only. It cannot jump into the active or present tense only. And the tone also, the language is also follow thoughtful and very professional language it will continue. It prevents complex sentences and at the same time it uses some of the run-on sentences also. Some sentences are very run-on in kind of a time. And sometimes we are very ignorant about putting proper punctuations are there, like comma, colon. So the grammar check software will recommend you, help you to then use appropriate use of apostrophes and this punctuations also. Next please. It enhances vocabulary also, the technical terms. Sometimes, like as I said, in Unani we use mizaj, the alternate term what substitute is temperament. The software is if you have a very logically considered term, they recommend you can use this term also which is equivalent to mizaj prakriti like. If you believe that this is acceptable, it is up to you. Like that you can refer your softwares, some of your terms are available. Even these softwares are also collect such a term from your databases only. Technical term recommendation recommend you. It avoids redundancy. It won't promote you to use multiple duplication of the word. Ensuring proper punctuation, as I said, where exactly the comma has to be put. If you are not putting, how the sentence is going to change, and commas apostrophes also it will help you. Next. As I said, it maintains throughout the paper the mono versus the formal tone. There will be no some exaggerated words are there. No hyperboles will be there. Then uniform tone will be there. Active voice versus passive. Wherever it is required, the passive voices, the real use of the passive voice, they will use it. Otherwise, active voices will be considered. And detecting the suggestions will be related to some words like articles. Where exactly the article words. For example, we are writing umbrella, the university, the elephant. Is it right? The elephant, the umbrella, the apple. An apple. Whenever there is a university comes, an university at the university. Why there is a discrimination? When vowels are using, it has to be used either A and B only. So the grammar software will explain you where the word to be used, what is the characteristic feature of that when we are going to use. So the particular prepositions, what preposition to be used when it is the beginning of the word, at the end of the sentence, what prepositions are really appropriate. All these suggestions you will get in the grammar check software. Next please. Good. And most of the plagiarism softwares are this grammar check software. They are available in the form of extensions also. Microsoft extension, other browser extensions also. Even the free available softwares also you can use as a default over your Google search extension or whatever the browsers you are using, so that it can easily accessible also. Right. Next please. So, next. Here I have got some nearly 55 applications are there that are dedicated for grammar check one. Here you can see that all red asterisk marks are the offline versions of the grammar check software. Mean no need to have internet connectivity, no need to depend upon it for checking all the content, right? The rest of the color is other than red are online only. You have to connect it through internet. Out of this, some of the applications are no need to have a login facility also. Directly you can go to the page, paste your material content or upload your document up to the permissible word limit. all software will scrutinize your content, whatever the feature you want. If you wanted to check the grammar, spell check, they'll do it and send back you to the document. If you want to make a rephrasing the sentence, it will help you. But free versions are limited number facilities are there. If you buy it, if you register it, if you log in it, you may have some other extra added features also. Next. So these are the very popular, if you see, some top 10, 20 softwares are there, which are helpful like Income, Grammarly, Quillboat, Ginger, and the Pro Writing, White Smoke, Zoho Writer, Hemingway Editor, Language Tool, Write with Impact Vector, right? Breakthrough. Few more are there. Next. 5 minutes back, show 15 minutes. Okay, next. Last, these are all again. Take home messages. Generally, there should be a clarity and brevity and scientific writing. Whatever the VFers are putting in your paper, you have to have some clarity and brevity so that the end user should not get any confusion. And the grammar check tools, they give the clarity and the precision in the writing and also suggest how to avoid rejection of your paper. Because if your paper language grammar is not good, that is the only reason for your rejection. So we can take help of such grammar check softwares. The grammar check software helps in readability and accessibility to the non-native English speaker. Like I believe I'm a non-native English speaker. I need all this kind of supporting software. Regular use of a GC, that is grammar check, will improve language skill and learn more better writing proficiency with the peace of mind. Finally, utilizing grammar check software will definitely empowers the authors to communicate the scientific writing effectively. Next. So this is hand-on practice. I have, I don't know whether I can able to communicate them. Then they go to exercise like this. These are all different websites. Directly you can go to the grammar check softwares that go to the particular page. By automatically you are reaching to the home page of the page where you can paste your content or upload your document subject to the provision of particular website. That one or two applications are there, they are accepting full length paper like Grammarly, Quillboat, Proofreader. These are the three applications are there. You can go for up to 5 number of papers in a month without paying any charges. That will help you to check the grammar, spelling check, syntactical correction, and most of the grammar related issues will be there. But as far as the plagiarism is related, Grammarly will charge you to pay the amount, otherwise plagiarism check is not possible. Rephrasing, the best tool for rephrasing your content is Quillboat. So, these are all some of the link. Are you going to provide this presentation? No. Okay, cool. You just find with this one. These are all the, otherwise, if you are able to access this, Google search, just go and check grammar check softwares, you will get all the list. I have given the priority to Grammarly, Pro Writing Aid, Quillboat, and Instatext is another one that is a very wonderful document, what I feel, because it gives very clear understanding about the words, what kind of sentences you are using, how to change the active voice into passive voice are also there. Next please. So this is the additional information about the presentation what we have given. Next, this is a team. We together 5 people are there who are also equally deliberating this presentation in different part of the country wherever this kind of program is going. Today I am here before you, Mohammed Ali, my team members also there, Vaishali Mali, Subhash Chandran, Kavita Nurudillah, and Shuna Chabra. If they are getting opportunity, invitation to teach, they are also speaking the same words. Maybe the way of communication may be different, but the content is one and same only. With this, I have completed my presentation. Shall we go for the post questions? Thank you. I have one more part.
The end of this
Ask Madam to send it to us. This is the post.
acknowledgement is not good.
Size.
Hello friends. I think you got one more Google form is there in your group. Please go find the details. I will forward this from the minutes. Second is I just want to show you the results also. All of you please. Very good. 800. Oh, check up. Panchamabutas. 70. Okay, thank you. I thought if you can able to attend the post session, probably your score might increase to 10 out of 10. There was some miscommunication, ma'am. My dear friends, if you have finished the work, let us go for the second presentation, second lecture. Maybe the next 5 minutes only I'll take, not more than 5. With the extension of every 5 minutes. All of you. Right, sir, as I said, I promise I'm not going to take more than 50 minutes. Will you agree 50 is okay? Not 1550? Let me reduce to 20 minutes. 150. Anyhow, keeping your interest in consideration will further proceed. The next topic lecture, what the NCF is asking us to promote you is know your editorial process. Because all of you have submitted our papers to respective journal, how the editorial board of any journal will follow the procedure, where the author role is done, where the editor role, where the reviewers are involved in the paper. This is very interesting, and I hope that most of you know the things, but let me recall some of the things what you know about it. Go to the next page, please. In the next few minutes, whatever the time I am going to spend with you, we are trying to understand the role of editorial board. Editorial board is comprised of any journal, where the role of individual author editor and reviewer, try to understand. After that, in case your article is rejected, how to face the rejection of the article. And second thing is, if reviewer has commented you or feedback provided by the reviewer, in such a case, how to give reply to the reviewer. I believe in our several, no article is accepted as it is for the first time when we submit for publication, because every editorial board will thoroughly send the paper article to respective reviewer. The comments of the reviewer will be communicated, where I'm sure, because throughout my career I never accepted any paper for the first time they are submitted. If there is a requirement, we give some minor modifications to be inculcated. Likewise, in our cases also there, let us try to understand, in case if you are going to write a reply to the reviewer, how to address such a reply to the reviewers. Also, this is the content what we are going to learn in the next few minutes. Next, please. See, this is a sequential understanding here. The first thing is in the editorial process, the first part of the editorial process starts with submission of article by author. Like, imagine that. Otherwise, simply they'll send it back by say that whatever the irrational reason is there. Like one of our friends was talking about that, keeping the article for 3-4 months in the journal. 3 months, 4 months after, they are just sending it back because we have a huge number of a paper. Sorry, we are unable to communicate you publish this article. Or sometimes they say that we don't have this kind of readers to publish this paper. Then why you have accepted the paper? In the guidelines you have clearly mentioned that we accept the papers of Ayush medicine, we accept the papers of allied sciences also, keeping after knowing the eligibility and the theme and objective of the journal only article. In the process of editorial processing, the first role is start with the author. As an author, if you are not writing the paper or article, there is no meaning of establishing any editorial board or any establishment of the journal. But the editorial process starts with the role of the author. As the author, when we started writing, then we must have some brief occupied things are there. Pre-submission of the paper. You have completed the paper, whatever the paper it is scientific writing based upon your trial or any review paper or any commentary, whatever it would be. Do remember that an author has to face 3 different phases: pre-submission, submission, and post-submission. So these are the 3 phases one should remember. All these 3 phases, author is connected with the process of editorial. In the pre-submission, next go to. In the pre-submission, before submitting the article, it is the responsibility duty of the author to thoroughly review the aims and objectives of the journal. For example, as a Unani author, I am writing a paper which is purely of Unani science and Ayurvedic science and sending it to the Nature. There is one of the globally accepted high impact journal, Nature is there. I hope all of you might be knowing about it. Can you expect that our papers will be accepted for publication? Because these kind of allied science paper, they have not given any window to accept it. So before sending a paper, it is our responsibility to look into the aims and objectives and the theme of the journal. If the theme permitting you, then you prepare your paper, finalizing the paper for sending. The first one is selection of the journal. Does the journal fit for my paper, the objective of my studies? Then proceed further. Second important thing is read author guidelines. What are the instructions for submitting the paper? We know that in most of the academic research, there are n number of authors for a research paper. How many of you are holding the head of the departmentship of the departments? How many HODs are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. How many the first entry level faculty as assistant professors?
No entry, after 5 years experience only they should become the
So what is the first designation there, sir? Associates only. Associate, assistant professor also not assistant. So I'm expecting, does our group is having any assistant professor? No. The professors are associate professor. But I'm coming to the literal, the technical point. We never misuse our head of the departmentship with the students to put my name as the author in the paper. Will you agree? How many of us not influencing our departmental colleague as students to use my name as author in the paper? Honestly, आप use करते हैं? The head of the department influencing the people to consider your name as author? No, because some authors, some journal will ask you what is your role as author, what is your contribution. You are the person who give the idea of the paper, whether you have written the paper, You are framing the paper, you are conceptualizing the paper, who did the statistics, who did the grammar check, who did the statistical inferences. There are so many points you'll be asking, and asking about your authorship, what role you have played, mention it. So this author related guidelines you have to follow considering yourself as the author of the paper. Paper checklist. Most of the journal they give you before submitting the paper, the checklist will be there. All these things should be there with your paper, otherwise in the initial phase your paper will be rejected. Author contribution stated also. This is what I mean to say. In fact, the primary part, the first part, what I ask is, if your name is there in the paper, you have to disclose about the role what you have played in the paper. Double check supporting documents like that. If it's a clinical trial, it is the responsibility of the author to check about the ethical clearance, CTRA registration, and all those statutory things also there. And craft for convincing the final letter. Most of the journal will ask you to send one covering letter, including the topic and according to the format of the journal, how to put the title page is different, abstract page is different, introduction, results should be different, graph should be different, like all those things should be covered in the crafting the final letter. So these are all the preliminary phase to be covered in the pre-submission. Before submitting the paper, it is the responsibility of the author starts from. Immediately, if you come across you are fulfilling all the criteria of the pre-submission, ultimately we go for submitting the article to the journal. The first question will come to our mind is, how many journals are there that are accepting paper online submission? Online means some journals will ask you to send through mail also, or they have a dedicated portal also, website also. There is a one link will be provided to you. Some journals are there, they are still running on offline only. You have to send complete paper in a compact disk or whatever the format they are asking, you have to present it offline. But now majority of the journals are accepting online papers only. There is an online management system is there that will help you. Look up at this next please, submission. In the submission phase, you just follow the submit your paper in what sense, they're offline or online. If it is online, ensure that before submitting also adhere to the general guidelines. What the journal is speaking about, because every journal is having differences in their role or activity. They are deviating from certain standard guidelines also. So you follow the journal author guidelines, adhere to the formatting and proofreading requirements of the journal. While you are submitting the paper, please adhere to the guidelines which is issued with the journal. This is to be carried out during the phase of submitting the article. Next is, once your article submitted, as an author, we have come across two phases. The last one is post-submission. Next please. As an author, our role is also continued up to the submission of the paper. That is, after submission, what is our responsibility? The first responsibility is track your article. Because online journal, they will provide you the facility, track your article where exactly it is lying. It is with the editorial code. After that, they will give you a timeline period. Your article has been sent to the reviewer. How many reviewers are going to evaluate, and what is the status? After that, if it is sent back to the author, the paper has been sent to the author revision. Once after completing the author revision, author has sent back to the editorial code. Like all those things will be mentioned in the author track report in their article. You just follow this. Once this revision is over, sometime the article will back to you to revise this if it is a minor consideration or major consideration. So the author again pre-submission of the article, submission of the article, and post-submission. For till the article is published in archiving, even sometime what happened after the article published, the people started inquiring about the plagiarism related issue, some copyrights, some intellectual property related issues have also been arising. In such a case, most of the paper have been withdrawn from the archives also. That is true. So, being author, one should be very careful, and intellectuals of that area, they'll go through the paper first initially. They'll look into the objective, the aim of the paper, whether it is considerable or not. Does the paper contain some novelty, new things are there, fitting into the theme of the journal? Some relevance of the topic, because the redundancy is also going to be inhibit the paper. The topic is relevant. Nowadays, if you write anything about the corona-related issue, the new variants of corona, definitely the articles will be easily accepted to the journal. Rather than writing classical understanding of what is called as influenza, flu, nobody will pay attention. If you give a new define both the things, please adhere to the general guidelines. You cannot ignore, you cannot be something like very casual in the ignorance of the guidelines. The quality of research is also paid attention while you are finalizing the paper. Finally, if there is any conflict, potential conflict of interest is there, if you are going to disclose the conflict of interest, ultimately the editorial board will forward this paper to peer review. Peer review is a very crucial part, important part of the paper review. Next, please. Here in this peer review, why the editorial board has paid attention to the peer review is because the objective of the peer review is peer review among ourselves only, a person who is having equal caliber of the subject, who is having potential to review the paper will be sent. The purpose, objective of the peer review is to first to critically assess the content. Whatever the paper has been sent to the reviewer, they will critically evaluate the content without any bias, because the papers are blinded. I'll come to that point also. Independently, they will do without any coercion and under the pressure, an assessment of the intrinsic part of the scholarly work. This is the objective of the what is called as peer review. That is the reason every journal will maintain a list of the reviewers to review the paper. Next. How the process of review will be, how the journal will select the reviewers. I have a question. Anyone of you played a role of a reviewer? Have you got very interesting? Beyond, apart from me, ma'am, may have anybody who got an opportunity to review the paper? How the review, how the editorial board came to know about you are the reviewers? Either you have to register yourself like a reviewer for the journal, one. Otherwise, the criteria are they look into the expertise. As a reviewer, when we registered, our resumes are there. They look into the areas of research. Among them, randomly they will select you. One. Second thing is, if you don't have publication history, what is your publication? How much of a publication you have? What are the areas where you have registered your work? The editorial team will look into that based upon your area of interest. They randomly send you as a reviewer. Second part. Third is past reviews. Like once you started reviewing as a reviewer in any journal, keeping your track record of assessment, peer review quality, they'll consider you. In fact, peer review is a purely honorary work. They won't pay any percent to you. Rather, they'll force you to complete the work within a stipulated time. We know we are very busy people. Ayush people are very busy. In fact, are you sure, sir? Busy without any reason. But at the same time, we don't want to accept this kind of a work also. But luckily, if you out of some people, their interests are there, they'll offer to take the responsibility like a peer review. So, based upon the past review record also, the editorial board will send you the papers. Otherwise, there are certain journals, they'll ask you, they ask the authors, would you recommend, suggest somebody's name as a reviewer? So, an author can send a minimum 2 to 3 members' name, keeping the area of interest of that article to the editorial board. From there also, some people will get the invitation to review the paper. This is how the editorial board will select the peer review. Next, please. What exactly the peer review assignment is going to do? Once the editor assigns this job to the peer reviewer, they are expecting that peer reviewer will do the work, scientific validity of the article. Next thing is methodology, whether the methodology what they have adopted is right or wrong, and the paper originality, clarity and the coherence of the content. Finally, they find out the significance of the research. These are all the things which are expected from the peer review. Next, please. Next. Stay here. And now, most of the journal will follow blinding the procedure for the reviewers also. Because, as I said, expertise. For example, if any paper which has been sent to Unani, editorial board of Unani, ultimately they will try to find out the person who is expertise in Unani subject. They will try to track the record with the help of a publication. If they find some person is having outstanding publication, so the paper will be forwarded to the respective expertise group. But the chances of influence of the reviewer will be there over the paper to give negative remarking. To control such a negative kind of a biased kind of a influence of the reviewer, nowadays they started blinding the paper. Most of the journals, they started blinding the peer review process. In this process, the paper either could be a single-blinded, double-blinded, or open peer review, or transparent review will be there. I hope that all of you know about the open-blinded, single-blinded and double-blinded. Both the things are single-blinded now. But what about the open peer review? What is transparent review? Tomorrow you may be selected as a peer reviewer. And now the journal will tell us this is a transparent review. Then how you are going to interpret this? In the sense, a journal will allocate a paper to more than two authors, reviewers, and all the reviewers' remark will be announced, forwarded to the author, stating reviewer remark, reviewer second remark, reviewer third remark, without disclosing the credentials of the reviewer. This is a transparent review, stating what the remarks given by the first author, first reviewer, second reviewer, third reviewer. Likewise, the complete paper will be communicated to the respective author for incorporating the comments. And here, open peer review, things are very clear, and like there are some changes in this transparent. Next is, once the peer review is over, how the peer review process will be communicated. As I said, peer reviewer, they are the expert. Mostly they accept the paper. Certainly it may not be happen. Rarely in a single review the paper will be accepted. Otherwise, they will communicate the paper to revision, either could be a minor revision or major revisions will be there. Or in both the cases, if it is not happen, straightforward keeping non-credentialed the paper will be rejected. Whatever the process of the peer review is either it could be accepted, revision, rejection. All the three cases they will communicate it to the editorial board of the journal. Sometime, if the provision is there, they will communicate directly to the author also. But final decision of considering the paper is again at the editorial board. Next, please. Once the paper is reviewed, it will be communicated back to the editorial board. In such a case, the editorial board once again look into the paper after review. They go through that. What are the feedback or the comments given by the reviewer? They'll communicate back to the author. In case if it is a rejection of the paper, and then they'll look into the reason for the rejection, whether is there any special interest for the rejection of the peer reviewer, or lack of novelty, insufficient conceptual advances, or major technological or interpretational problems is there. If these are all the reasons, then the paper will be rejected. Or otherwise, if it is a provisionally accepted with minor or major revision, editorial board process the paper for peer review, and the different peer review, they have given the comment. And based upon the comment, editorial board sent back this paper to you, asking you to reply them. If you want to get it published in the journal where you have sent the paper, you please reply it. Then, what is the criteria of reply? How to reply it? There is a guide for addressing such a reviewer's reply. Whenever reviewer provides feedback on your scientific paper, it is crucial to respond thoughtfully and professionally. Like the effective way of addressing reviewer's reply is maintain the structure and tone. Second thing is addressing specific point. Third thing is give some illustration for the reason. Finally, try to add some tips to the paper. If you go to what exactly means structure and tone, as an author, you are giving reply to the reviewer. The structure and the tone should be very comfortable in the sense convincing. Start with the attending thanks to the reviewer. Thank you, my dear sir, because you have attended my paper, given enough time for reviewing and elucidating some of the important points in my paper. Like start with thank reviewer for your time and allocation. Acknowledge the contribution that comes from the start. Organize point by point, whatever the point they have given as an objection, comment, clarification. Try to give it point by point. Don't go for complex sentences. Try to keep the professionalism and courteousness. Don't be exaggerated. Keep maintain respectable and professional tone. Don't go for argument. Explain the reasons. In case it is accepted, okay, or rejected. Addressing the specific points like accepted, whatever the comments given by the reviewer, please accept it. You please communicate, we have accepted the changes, we reviewed it, we removed it, we deleted the words what you have recommended. Likewise, indicate the location of such changes during the paper review. Some reviewer will take every line with the numerical allotment. And while they are giving comments also, they give that the contents are removing or modifying the thing. Please acknowledge such a thing point wise, stating that at serial number 9, the comment what you have given is considered, changed, removed, deleted, modified. Likewise, what you mentioned, rejected changes should be acknowledged. Additional information, if it is there, as if your reviewer raise that question, then give it with appropriate discussion with reference to the studies which is available. Yes, please. Sometimes we need to use some illustration also, because point was giving our responsibility to use some illustration to convince him how we interpreted the data. Other responses also. In case your reviewer said that as a author you are predominantly using your rights in a paper, in such a case please accept all the responses, try to control it. Finally, if it is possible, try to use some alternatives like in our review, use clear, don't go for ambiguity, use clear and concise language, don't go for the complex sentences. Carefully carry out proofreading before submitting, because first time your paper has been sent, it came back due to whatever the reason. If it is a syntactical error, proofreading related issue, do correct it. So all these things to be taken care, follow the journal specific instruction. Next please. Next. Right. Once the author submitted the paper to the editorial board, editors once again they review the paper. If it is, if they thought that it's again to be re-revised, they are sent back to the review to the author for minor modification. Or else, if it is between the author and the peer reviewer, the paper will be sent to the reviewer for further consideration. And this particular stage, the editorial board is also ask you in what form of a standard publication would you like to prefer. If you are thinking that your paper is of a high quality and novel and having some intellectual information, you don't want to share it openly publicly. In such a case, you wanted to hide the information. You wanted to have some financial consideration of the paper. So here we have some limitation of accessibility of the paper. So the standard of publications also speak about the editorial board will ask you how would you like to go with your paper. It's open access or it's a paid version should be there. Open access means your paper will be available openly to all the people and the people will get benefited. Here neither the author will get any financial benefit nor the editorial will collect some article publication charges also there. Or else if you want, you can go for gold open access is there, that is a purely paid version, and through your library or some specific portals only you have to access the paper. So this particular point is also to be asked you, the editorial board. Once it is over, finally they send back the copy to you for a copy of editing, formatting, and last is the gallery proof, where the gallery proof will ensure you there will be no mistakes or any changes to be incorporated. Once the gallery proof is over, forwarded by the author, then such a paper will be go for publication. Next please. So your paper is going to publish it. Okay. Unfortunately, in case your paper is rejected, then try to find out what is the reason for rejection. As I said, the paper is not novelty, there is no newness, and your paper is not coming to the category of the A1 objectives of the journal, or you have a lot of issues with the plagiarism, methodology is not clear. So there are some technical issues, editorial issues and technical issues are there. Based upon that also they are rejected. The question is, once the paper is rejected, does we have a right to resubmit the paper to the same journal? I am asking you please. I have sent an article to my ex journal. They rejected me showing the reasons also. After correcting the paper, doing all necessary modification, whatever the point they have raised, can we submit the same paper to the same journal? Yes. Most of the journal they'll accept it as a new entity you have to submit it. Otherwise it is up to you, you can shift to the other journals. But the thing is, the process of submitting your article starts again with the pre-submission, submission, post-submission, because every journal is having their own guidelines. If you are not following the guidelines of the journal, your paper will not be accepted, some rejected. Go to the Facebook check. This is exactly how it is. Now it is okay. One of the biggest issues, quality writing, inadequate literature, ethical issues, scope and letters, next. Next. Metrological flow, all those things are there. Next. Maybe I have reached the final. Next. Okay. See, in case the rejection is there, important point to be remember here is how to face the rejection. Because we put a lot of efforts in reading on paper. This is something like a baby, giving a baby, taking care of this. First of all, please keep your mind very cool. The first point, initial emotional responses. How do you feel? Once you came, you have received a mail from the editorial board that your paper is rejected. Will you feel happy?
No.
No, because we put a lot of efforts. Our total 2-3 years of research work is there. Then ultimately it will have some impact on our emotional condition also. So here what to say, take care of this first. Pay attention to your mental condition. Don't be exaggerated. Take a break. Rethink about it. For that we need a break. और ब्रेक कैसा होगा? अच्छी सी कोई नई मूवी चल रही है उसको देख लिया जाए, या लेडीज में पहले शॉपिंग कर लिया जाए कोई अच्छी सी, है ना? कुछ तो करो जिसकी वजह से थोड़ा सा ब्रेक हो जाए. Second point is review the rejection letter. In the rejection letter they have mentioned the reason for rejection. Critically go through the rejection. What are the reasons they ask for the rejection? Try to make a point, each and every point to be elucidated. Focus on this point. Try to correct it. Analyze the feedback. Feedback is given by the reviewer. What are the points they have given? Go through each and every point, correct it, modify it, delete it if it is required. Finally, revise the manuscript. According to the modification suggested, the reason for rejection to be eliminated, give it a new shape or modified shape, revise the manuscript, decide on resubmission. Then here, are you planning to resubmit the same paper into the same journal, or would you like to go to the second journal? Preferably to go to the same journal.